Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today I have another vintage block for you. This one is called the Broken Star, and here is my sample. Now I went ahead and made a sample this time because this block goes together differently. It is made with a lot of triangles as opposed to squares that you trim off like the flip and sew method. And it goes together differently because we're going to put this one together in sections as opposed to rows. So I hope you'll stay with me and I'll show you how to make the Broken Star block. Okay, here are all the pieces that you need to make the Broken Star block. For piece A, you need to cut one 3.5 inch square. This will be your center of your block. For B, you need one 4¼ inch square, and you're going to cut it on both diagonals so that you get 4 triangles. For C, you need two 4¼ inch squares, and you're going to cut them both on both diagonals, and then you'll have 8 triangles. D is the same. It's two 4¼ inch squares cut on both diagonals for 8 triangles. E is 4 3.5 inch squares. F is one 7¼ inch square, and you cut this one on both diagonals so that you get 4 triangles. And for G, you want to cut two 3 7/8 inch squares, and you're just going to cut it on the diagonal once. So that will give you 4 triangles. So we'll go ahead and get started sewing. The first thing I'm going to do is to make the center of the block, and that is, show you the block here that I've already completed. It's this part with the green going around the center square. So this is the A square and these are the B triangles. So we're going to sew those together. So I'm going to get those pieces here, and to do these I'm going to press my triangles, or fold my triangles wrong sides together and just pinch it right here to make a little mark. I want to find the center of that triangle, and then I want to find the center of my square. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same, but I'm folding this one right sides together. That way this piece can kind of just slide right in place here and line up those 2 crease marks. I'm wanting to get this to be centered, the triangle centered on the square. And I'm going to go ahead and place a pin in there. And I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now this block will come out closer to your 12.5 inches if you do a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if you have that capability, I would go ahead and use that. On this machine, since I can't move the needle to the side, I just have to keep a little bit of space between the fabric and the guide on my 1/4 inch foot. And I'm using directional fabric again. So I'm going to try and lay these out like I did in this block here. Figure out which way I need to move this. Here we go. The stripes in both of these fabrics are the same print, just different colors. So I've got all of the stripes going vertical here. So that's what I'm going to try to do on this block also. And that should work. I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the opposite side, and then I'll press and do the other 2 sides. So now I need to find the triangle that is going to work on that side. And that will be this one. So I'm going to finger press this one with the wrong sides together, and then just slip that into that crease I just made on the square. Okay. So this is what I have. so far I have that. So I'm going to press, and I'm going to press towards the triangle so the square will be flat there. And I have dog ears, so I'm going to go ahead and trim those off. That way they won't get in the way when I sew the other two pieces on. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Fold the square right sides together, and I'm going to go ahead and do both sides here. And just do a little finger press. And then fold my triangle wrong sides together and do a finger press there. And then I can line these two up. And there shouldn't be any problem with getting the stripe to go in the same direction as the centerpiece. If you get the first two correct, then the other two should be fine. Now, as you're sewing this block, you need to be careful because you've got a lot of bias edges because you have all of these triangles. So try not to stretch those if you can. Okay, there's my last triangle. And then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I'm going to press, and then I'll trim the dog ears off of this, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so here we go. We have the dog ears here, so I'm going to go ahead and trim them off. So this is what we've got. Okay, next thing we need to do is make flying geese units. We have the C and the G triangles, and what we're making are these flying geese units right here. So we'll be making 4 of those. So it works similar to the flip and sew method, only you don't have to trim off anything. So if you take the larger triangle, which is the G triangle, and you're going to put your C triangles on like this, so they're going to go this way. So what I do is I'm going to match up the corner here, these two points right here. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, so here you have your point of one and the point of the other. You're just going to line those up and then just sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you'll have a little bit of a hangover here, which is what you want. And this is on the straight of grain of both of these pieces, so you don't have to worry too much about stretching anything out of shape. Okay, I'm going to press that, and then I'll sew on the other triangle. So here is this half, and then I'm going to sew on the other triangle. And I'm not worrying about direction of my fabric on this because even though all of this fabric has a direction, you can't really see it when it's cut on this one particular fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off my dog ear. And then I'm going to match these 2 points. Okay, then I'm going to press, and I'll show you this flying geese unit. Okay, so here we go. Now we got dog ears, 2 here on the bottom and then 1 in the center. So I'm going to trim those off. I'm just using scissors. So here's the completed flying geese unit. So I'm going to make 3 more of these, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now I need to make the corner unit, so I need my E squares and my D triangles. Now with these, you need to put them on adjacent corners, put these triangles on adjacent corners, and with this block, since the corners or these triangles in the corners have directional fabric, I have to pay attention to that too. So I'm going to lay out each one, and I'll adjust the camera and show you how I'm doing that. I'm going to lay these squares out for each corner of the block. So I'm going to put some space between them. Now these triangles are going to go towards the center, so I need that space. What I want is for all of these stripes to go in the same direction. So I'm going to have to play around with them a little bit, because I have some that the lines on the triangles are going horizontal and some that are going vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and just separate those out into 2 different piles so that I know what I'm working with here. Okay, so this should work see, this will be the top of my block. So this one needs to go here, and then I'll need one there, and then here and here. So the inside ones are going to will be the vertical ones, and then the ones on the bottom will be the ones where the lines are going horizontal. So on the bottom 2 squares, the triangles are going to go on the inside and the top, and the top 2 squares are going to go on the inside and the bottom. So what you're doing is you're forming the star points that are coming out. So I'm double checking against my sample block here to make sure they're going all in the right direction. So I'm comparing that, and the center unit that I've already sewn, that will go this way, so that these stripes are also going vertical, and then these stripes are going vertical. So on this part, when you get to doing the corner units, it's really helpful to lay them out, sew them one at a time, so that you don't get your pieces mixed up and then you have to rip them out and do them over again. If you're using a directional fabric, if you're not, you don't have to worry about any of this. You just need to sew them to 2 adjacent sides, and then you can turn them as you need to. So I got this all set, so I'm going to go over to the machine and start sewing them together. Okay, this is another case where I'm wanting to do a little pinch crease right there, so that I can center my triangle on the edge of the square. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and press. So I press that triangle out, so you can see here on the back that we're pressed towards the triangle. And I'm going to lay that back down. I'm going to go ahead and trim off these dog ears on the side. Okay. Alrighty, so this one's going to go here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here is that piece. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off all the little dog ears and then work on the next corner. Okay, I can barely get everything in here, but I wanted to show you how I've got this laid out. This is how I'm going to sew it into sections. So I have all of my flying geese units surrounding the center, and since I'm using directional fabric, I'm watching that all of my stripes are all going vertical here. So we have flying geese units all around the center, and then our corner units go up against the flying geese. Now these flying geese need to look like star points, so I've got this one. Yeah, they're all the right direction now. I had this one turned earlier. Okay. And then these triangles here, which are the F triangles, those go to fill in here. Okay, now to sew this together, you can't do this one in rows because this is all triangles and it's kind of like a block on point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 different sections. We'll do these 2 sections here and this one here. So I'm just going to pull everything out so that we can look at the center section first, because that's what I'm going to sew first. So this is what I'm going to sew first. So I have 2 corner sections, 2 flying geese, and the center. So I'm going to just sew them one piece at a time so that I don't get anything turned around. And then on these corner sections, I'll sew these 2 pieces together, and then I'll add the triangles to the side. And then once I have all 3 sections sewn, then I will sew them together. So we're going to start here, and we'll sew this center section first. Okay, I'm going to start with the corner section and sew it to the flying geese unit. And now I'm going to add the center to the other side of the flying geese. So I'm going to make sure I've got everything together. Now we've got 2 points, this point and this one, to match up. So I'm going to place a pin in the point of the flying geese and then into the point of the center section and just line those 2 up. Just like that, and then I'm going to pin them right there, and hopefully this will keep everything in alignment while I'm sewing. And this is where a quarter or a scant quarter inch would be helpful. Okay, so now I need the flying geese on the other side, and I'll do the same thing. Okay, and then the last corner piece. So here is this section all done. And now I'm going to do the corner sections. So I've got the flying geese unit and the corner section. And I'm going to go ahead and press this one so I can add the triangles on. Okay, so this is what this looks like so far. I'm going to add the other triangle to the opposite side. Okay, so here is that completed triangle. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do the other one. Okay, so now I'm going to sew all three sections together. So I'm going to go ahead and pin in a couple of places. I've got these two seams here in the center. I'm going to pin them, and then I'm going to pin the end here. Now this is a biased edge, so I'm being really careful with that and trying not to stretch it. And I'll do the same with this end. Okay, so here's what that looks like at this point. So let me do the other side. Okay, so here is my completed block. I have it all pressed. I pressed these two seams open, but these two wound up flipping while I was sewing. Other than that, everything is pressed to one side. So I think it turned out pretty well. Now this is one I just completed. This is my sample block. And the only difference is the background fabric. This is a fabric from the line. This is a white on white. It has little bitty hearts on it. And this is just a solid white. And this is from a backing, actually a piece of leftover white fabric from the backing of a quilt. So it's a different fabric line altogether. So I just kind of used what I had on hand, and I think it turned out well. Okay, that is it for the Broken Star quilt block, and I think this one turned out really nice. It looks just as good as my sample, so I'm real happy with that. This isn't exactly a beginner-friendly block. This one is more intermediate, but if you're comfortable with your 1/4 inch seam allowance and are good at following instructions, I think you could do this block. I would call this an intermediate block, and it's really pretty, and I think it's worth trying. So I hope you will give this one a try. So if you like this video, please click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.